Are you learning the bass guitar but you're tired of the same old bass lines? Why don't you try some of these pop bass lines instead? Hi, it's Tom. Sorry for the cheesy intro. I know that there are quite a few absolute beginner bassists who watch this channel, and I thought I would walk through 5 bass lines from 5 pop songs from the past few years, which have simple bass lines but are fun to play. The bass lines get a little bit more difficult as the video goes along today. And one thing that's really important to think about is that with these simple bass lines, it's really common for beginners to want to move on too quickly without fully connecting with each bass line. So turn the music up, turn the bass up, and really try to get the feeling that you're playing along with the music rather than just kind of on top of it. I know that that sounds a bit like be inside the music, but whatever. If you can really try to focus on enjoying the feeling of playing bass, you may not become the best bass guitarist of all time, but you'll enjoy the experience of playing, and that's kind of the reason you do it for in the first place. So for what I'm doing, I'm keeping my thumb here on the E string. Now I've got my index finger on the 3rd fret of the A string. Now one thing to be aware of is particularly important with bass is we have these symbols here and they're called rests. So we need to have silence there. Absolute silence. So there should be no other strings accidentally ringing out between these notes. And what that means is it makes it really important to be able to stop the notes ringing with either this hand or with this hand, or a combination of the two. If we start the bass line, we start in the 3rd fret. We start in the 3rd fret of the A string. So 1, rest, and 3, rest. So at those points, so the points where there's a rest, 1, I'm completely stopping the strings. Into the next bar, we start in the 3rd fret, and then I play the 5th fret of the A string. Now I'm using my pinky. So I'm using my index, and then I use my pinky. The next bar, I drop my thumb here on the right hand to the pickup, 2 and 3. And once again, I'm stopping in between the notes. I'm going the 6th fret. Now with this 5, the 5th fret, with this note A, you can either use you could use your ring finger here, or alternatively, you can use your middle finger. But one thing you want to avoid, which happens with a lot of bass guitarists when they're first learning, they use just these 2 fingers, because these 2 fingers are the strongest fingers that you have, and people try to avoid the pinky because it's the least strong finger. But it's really important as you progress through bass to get that pinky nice and strong. Anyway, so we have pinky, and then the whole bass line repeats, and you can see. Before we even start playing this bass line, you can see that most of the notes are either on the 5th fret or the 7th fret. So what I'm going to do, the notes on the 5th fret, I'm going to use my index finger, and the notes on the 7th fret, I'm going to use my pinky. And then eventually we play a note on the 9th fret, and we're going to use my pinky for that as well. So we also can see that we have these rests as well, and as we saw in the first bass line, we need to make sure we have absolute silence there. So the way to look at the rhythm of Say So is that we have a 2-bar pattern of rhythm, and that repeats 4 different times. So if you can get it in the first 2 bars, then the rhythm in bars number 1 and 2 will be the same as the rhythm in bars 3 and 4, as well as the same rhythm in the bars 5 and 6, and also the same rhythm in the bars 7 and 8. To start off, we're going to put my thumb here on the E string, but because we're playing the notes on the A and the D string, if I put my thumb on the E string, it'll make it easier to mute the notes. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1 and 2 E and a 3, 3 and 4, same rhythm. But now we're going to use our index on the A string. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1 and 2 E and a 3, 4 into bars 4 into bars 5 and 6. Now I'm going to use on the A string with my pinky. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1 and 2 E and a 3, 4. And you can see here how I'm stopping these notes quite suddenly, and I'm trying to get that silence in between the notes. And then to bars 7 and 8. Now I'm playing with my index on the A string, and I'm moving up to the 9th fret with my pinky. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1 and 2 E and a 3, 4. So the thing with this bass line is when you're learning, the rhythm is going to be tricky because we have these offbeat rhythms. But even if you're struggling with it when you're learning, you keep practicing and you'll get it. All right. So this would be a good point to ask that if you are interested in getting more content like this, do consider hitting that subscribe button. All right. Okay, so for My Oh My, we have a 2-bar pattern which gets repeated. The rhythm is actually quite simple. So the rhythm, we 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. 1, 2, 3 and 4. All right, and we can see these rests in between each section. So we need to have silence there. I'll play it with my thumb here on the E string, so I can make the muting easier. I'm going to start with my index on the 3rd fret. There's 2 ways to play this 5 and 6. You can either use your ring finger and your pinky, but make sure you're using your pinky at least, or your middle finger and your pinky. And it's okay, if you're learning, you're going to find it, you want to kind of lock yourself into this position. I can't move! But it's okay to kind of shift your hands a bit across to the right to play those notes. Okay, so don't feel you have to absolutely lock your fingers in. So it's going to be index, ring, pinky, and thumb. And then we shift up to the D string. Yeah, and once again we have those rests in between the notes. So Now, because the bass line's been played on the D and the G strings, if you anchor your thumb on the E string like we've been doing with the other bass lines, you're going to find that you're going to get that A string ringing out and just kind of being played accidentally. So I would say it might be easy to anchor your thumb on the D string, and you kind of have to kind of touch that E string as well a little bit. In that way you can make sure you're not accidentally playing that A string at the same time. So nice and slowly, so you can start with your middle finger, pinky, and then we go down and we put our index finger on the 3rd fret. Now there's lots of little sharp bursts of rest there. So after I'm playing the note, so for example here with the 3rd fret, after I play the note, I then release the pressure with my index finger and also muting the strings here with these fingers here. So it's kind of like a push on, off. And when I'm pulling the finger off and I'm still touching the string, then I use these fingers to mute the string. So you can practice that a few times, well, quite a lot of times really, to make sure that you're doing that correctly. Okay, and then, yeah, and that's the main things for that bass line. Of all the bass lines today, this one is the trickiest one just because those notes are being played quite fast, and it's a great way to work on exercising your alternate fingers with your finger picking. The first note here I put with my index finger on the 7th fret, and then straight after I mute it. Now I play the 7th again, and then I'm playing that 9th fret here with my pinky. And then after, to get down to that 8, I'm going to use my middle finger. So then I end up with that on the 7th fret with my index finger again. And in the second bar, I'm using playing that same rhythm. So the all the way through will be 1, 2, and 3, and a 4, and 1, 2, and 3, and a 4, and 1. In the second bar, on the notes with the 10th fret, I'm using my pinky. And I find it more comfortable when I'm going down the bass line, playing the 10-9, I'm playing the 9th with my ring finger there. So. Alright, so I hope you found that useful. Do subscribe if you want more content like this. And that's it.